Hi students, this is Karimunisa Sayed, Associate Professor in Zoology. Welcome back to session 47. In this session, we are going to learn histology of mammalian tongue under the Zoology paper 4. So in this session, we are going to study the different types of tissues present in the tongue with respect to their organization, definitely as an adaptation to its functions. So, as we all know, tongue is a unique muscular organ located in the oral cavity or buccal cavity of the animal. It facilitates perception of gustatory stimuli. That means it is the organ of taste. It helps us in identifying or tasting varieties of food materials. Apart from this, it also helps in the mastication of food and also deglutition. Deglutition means swallowing, and mastication of food means it helps in chewing the food. And tongue also plays very important role as it is an integral component of speech pathway. That means it helps us in the articulation of speech, of course, along with the vocal cords, teeth, ears, and nostrils. Anyhow, whenever we refer to some of the words associated with the tongue, we use the prefix gloss and suffix glosses. You all must have learned the Belano glosses. Then coming to the brief anatomy of the tongue, before we proceed into microanatomy of the tongue or the histology of the tongue. So as you see here, tongue is an elongated flat structure with a tip or the apex which forms the anteriormost part of the tongue and also the mobile part of the tongue. It is followed by a body. The body of the tongue is rough on its dorsal surface as relatively smooth on the ventral surface. On the dorsal surface, we find different types of papillae. That is why it is rough. The tip and the body of the tongue, they form the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, which terminates in a V-shaped sulcus terminalis. So beyond sulcus terminalis, we see the base of the tongue, which forms the posterior one-third part of the tongue, which we can identify because of the bulgings due to the groups of lymphoid glands, which are called lingual tonsils. In this picture, you also see how the base of the tongue helps the tongue to attach to the floor of the oral cavity, which is called the root of the tongue. So the tongue has a smooth ventral surface as you see here when compared to the dorsal surface, and mid-ventrally we'll also find a lingual frenulum which helps in the attachment of the tongue to the oral cavity. Coming to the muscles of the tongue, because the tongue is chiefly a muscular organ. Interestingly, the tongue exhibits bilateral symmetry. What does it mean? That means all the tongue muscles are paired structures located on either side of the median fibrous septum. And these muscles are classified into two types based on their function, that is external or extrinsic muscles and internal or intrinsic muscles. The muscles that extend outside of the tongue, that means they are present outside the tongue and they help to anchor the tongue to the surrounding bony structures. These are called extrinsic muscles. We have the examples of styloglossus muscles, palatoglossus muscles, genioglossus muscles. All these muscles are called extrinsic muscles. Similarly, we also have internal muscles or intrinsic muscles like longitudinal muscles, transverse muscles, and oblique muscles, which contribute to the shape of the tongue. That means they help the tongue in the contraction and relaxation and also in the feeding. The tongue is also innervated by an effector motor nerve fiber from the hypoglossal nerve. Hypoglossal nerve is nothing but the 12th cranial nerve. So this nerve innervates all the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles. So thereby the muscle movement is coordinated through the brain. And of course, all these muscles are skeletal muscles or they are the voluntary muscles. Thereby we are able to move our tongue as per our wish. Coming to the histology of tongue. So the tongue is considered as a sac of mucous membrane packed with striated muscles running in all the directions. So in the vertical section, you can see the muscles in all the directions lying inside a sac-like epithelium. There is nothing but the mucosal epithelium. So thereby in the vertical section, we will be able to clearly see the outermost layer of stratified epithelium called mucosa, below which a very thin layer of connective tissue forming lamina propria or submucosa, and of course lot of muscles in the muscular layer. And the tongue is always kept moist by the saliva secreted by the major and minor salivary glands called lingual glands. As these glands are present inside the tongue, they are called lingual glands, but actually they are the salivary glands. So proceeding further, we can see here the lingual mucosa are the outermost covering stratified epithelium of the tongue, shows a slight difference, that is dorsally it is highly keratinized or cornified because the dorsal surface of the tongue is more at risk for desiccation and abrasions from the contact with food boluses of varying temperatures and textures. So all these pungent food materials may cause wear out of the superficial layers of the epithelium. So thereby we see dead epithelial layers on the dorsal surface, which lead to the keratinization, and thereby the dorsal surface is covered by a white scum-like structure, which you will be cleaning every day, I'm sure, with a tongue cleaner. Whereas on the ventral surface, as you see here, the tongue is covered by again stratified epithelium. But as the tongue along with the pharyngeal part of the oral cavity are not exposed to harsh food, the epithelium is non-keratinized or it is not cornified. And we can also see epithelium is adherent to the underlying striated muscle fibers. On the ventral surface, we also see blood supply or vascular supply of the tongue. Very clearly, the veins are visible here. So these arteries and veins are called lingual arteries and lingual veins. Of course, lingual artery is also a branch of external carotid artery. Coming to the dorsal mucosal epithelium of the oral tongue, because we have the anterior 2/3 part of the tongue called oral tongue, the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is called the pharyngeal part. So in the oral tongue region, we see lot of raised projections here. These projections are called lingual papillae. Again, as you see here, the lingual papillae, they are of different shapes. And these projections, they give actually the rough surface to the dorsal surface of the tongue. So these lingual papillae include filiform papillae, the papillae which are thread-like, fungiform papillae, those are the club-shaped papillae, and we also have leaf-like foliate papillae, and the fourth type called the circumvallate or dome-shaped papillae. Proceeding further into the details of structure of all these papillae, the first and foremost type of papillae are called the filiform papillae or the thread-like papillae. As you see here, they are stretched, but each papilla is thread-like with a conical tip, and they give gray or white color to the tongue because of keratinized squamous epithelium. So these papillae, they largely covered by keratinized squamous epithelium. But they also enclose a thin layer of connective tissue called lamina propria, which forms the lumen of the primary papillae. These primary papillae, again, they may form thread-like projections, and these projections are called secondary papillae. Therefore, the epithelium of the primary papillae also follows, as you see here, the contour of the secondary papillae. So thereby, the secondary papillae also appear thread-like, which is a unique feature of this filiform papillae. And these filiform papillae, as you see here in the vertical section of tongue, they are most abundant papillae on the oral tongue. And therefore, these papillae provide friction for the movement of food bolus during chewing. They facilitate the movement of the food in the mouth. But as this epithelium is keratinized here, they do not possess taste buds. The keratinization is again the reason for the roughness of the tongue. The second important type of papillae are called fungiform papillae. As we see here, these papillae are less keratinized. They're not covered by dead epithelial cells. That's why you can see here the red dot-like structures. The red dot-like structures here on the dorsal surface of the tongue indicate the fungiform papillae, whereas this white color structures around this fungiform papillae are the filiform papillae. So thereby, as you see here, the fungiform papillae are less in number when compared to the filiform papillae. But they are also found scattered across the dorsal surface of the oral tongue. That means in the apex and also in the body of the tongue. But they are highly vascularized. That's why you can see they appear more red in color when compared to the filiform papillae. But each papilla, as you see here, it is having a round mushroom shaped structure, and it also possesses few taste buds. But here around this papillae, we don't come across any trench or the vellum. Vellum is absent. So proceeding further, each fungiform papilla also encloses lamina propria, a reduced layer of connective tissue which is found in the lumen of the primary papilla. But here also we see the primary papilla forming thread-like or finger-like projections called the secondary papilla. But the epithelium does not follow the outline of the secondary papilla, unlike the filiform papillae. Therefore, the tip of this fungiform papillae are smooth and round, not thread-like. Coming to the third type of papillae called foliate papillae. These foliate papillae, as we see here, they are arranged bilaterally in pairs. On either side or the posterolateral margin of the tongue near the sulcus terminalis. These papillae, they are arranged in parallel rows. Therefore, we see longitudinal slit-like structures in the region of foliate papillae. Each foliate papilla, as usual, is covered by a mucosal epithelium, which is of course stratified epithelium. But this epithelial layer is not keratinized. It is not having any dead layer of epithelial cells, or it is not cornified. And these papillae also have lot of taste buds. You see here some light color ovoid structures. They are nothing but the taste buds. In the case of rabbits, we have foliate papillae with number of taste buds. The fourth type of papillae are the circumvallate papillae. So these papillae are the large papillae. Each papilla is dome shaped, and the number of these papillae is also few. There will be around 8 to 12 in number, but they are arranged linearly anterior to the sulcus terminalis. And in the longitudinal section, we will be able to see very clearly a furrow or trench around the papilla. So these moods or furrows or trenches, they facilitate to drain the serous saliva from the salivary glands called von Ebner's gland, so that the saliva will be always there in these trenches to keep the tongue moist. So this persistent lubrication of the tongue in the trenches creates a favorable environment for the gustatory particles of the food to dissolve in the saliva, so that these materials or the biomolecules of the materials can be detected by the taste buds. You can very clearly here see a trench around the circumvallate papillae with the saliva. So therefore, these papillae are also thickly populated, or they show lot of taste buds. Coming to the brief structure of taste buds. Though taste buds are present in the entire oral cavity of the animals, their concentration is highest on the tongue. So each taste bud appears a pale structure. Comparatively, it takes less strain. That's why it appears pale, very clear, oval shaped structure with the anterior taste pore in the stratified squamous epithelium. And this taste bud is made up of three types of cells: neuroepithelial or sensory cells, or gustatory cells, which help in tasting the food; then supporting cells or sustentacular cells. The third type of cells are called the basal cells. So the gustatory cells are spindle shaped with numerous apical microvilli at the taste pore. These microvilli, they bind to the dissolved biochemical molecules of the food and bring them closer to the taste receptors present on the plasma membrane of these gustatory cells. Whereas on the other end of the sensory cells have gustatory nerve fiber, conveying stimulus to the brain on excitation, causing the sweet, salty, bitter or sour sensation. The supporting cells are long, again spindle shape, and they are found surrounding the sensory cells. They are basically supporting and protecting cells. They also provide nourishment to the sensory cells. But these cells are found towards the periphery of the taste bud, surrounding the neuroepithelial cells. Whereas the third type of cells, the basal stem cells, they replace the dead cells of the taste buds, as these cells have very short life of roughly 7 to 10 days. So therefore, we have learned the structure of mucosal epithelium, various types of papillae, and also the taste buds. Now, coming to the second layer of the tongue, that is the lamina propria, which is nothing but a thin layer of connective tissue which helps in binding the mucosal epithelium to the underlying muscles. So the body of the tongue is largely made up of skeletal muscles called transverse muscles, longitudinal muscles, and oblique muscles. And these names are given to the muscles based on their arrangement in the tongue. And in between these muscles, we are able to see very clearly both mucus glands and serous glands. So these glands, which are present in the muscular layer of the tongue, are called lingual glands. These lingual glands are nothing but the salivary glands, but they are minor salivary glands. So these glands are found in the connective tissue stroma surrounding the muscles. Connective tissue means it is a nutritive and binding tissue which will be having rich supply of nerves and also the blood vessels. So these glands or the lingual glands are of three types: serous or von Ebner's glands, mucus glands, and seromucous glands are mixed glands. The first and foremost type of glands are called serous glands or von Ebner's glands or gustatory glands. These are almond-shaped exocrine glands found on the floor of the tongue. As you see here, they are situated underneath the tongue, specifically adjacent to the moods surrounding the circumvallate and foliate papillae. So that means they are located very near to the base of the tongue. Therefore, the saliva secreted by these glands is drained into the oral cavity by minute sublingual ducts. There are many lingual ducts opening ventrally on the tongue. The second type of glands found in the tongue are called mucus glands, as they secrete lot of mucus through the ducts. This mucus will reach the various crypts of lingual tonsils. So therefore, these mucus glands are largely present in the root of the tongue. The main function of the mucus, the oral mucus, is to protect the tongue and also the deeper tissues of the tongue from the mechanical abrasions during chewing, and protection from the pungent food materials, and also it prevents the entry of bacteria and some of the toxic substances into the body. As we all know, saliva in the mouth is also having mucus containing antibacterial property. That's why as a first aid we try to apply saliva to the wounds, fresh wounds. The third type of glands or lingual glands are called seromucous glands. As the name indicates, they are the mixed glands made up of both mucus and serous glands that are embedded again within the muscular layer of anterior part of the tongue. They also open outside by means of several small ducts on the ventral surface of the tongue. And these seromucous glands or mixed glands are also called glands of Blandin-Nuss. So at the end, we have learned that tongue is a unique structure. Histologically, we can describe it as a sac of mucosa membrane enclosing lot of muscles, and this structural or histological organization of tongue helps the mammal in the tasting, chewing, and swallowing of the food, as well as in the articulation of speech. So these are some of the references used for today's class. With that, we'll come to the end of the session. Thank you.